You get rewarded for buying stuff.
Like what?
Like second bee helmet with protective netting. Or like a ball, you know? Or a cool moment for the skin.
How about a motorcycle?
Or some bee repellent. I'm just spitballing here.
Nothing stops us from doing right by our customers. Ally, do it right.
Told you not to slaughter.
In just days, Publishers Clearinghouse awards the $5,000 a week forever prize. Win $5,000 a week for your life. Then after that, someone you choose gets $5,000 a week for their life. Enter at PCH.com before it's too late. And February 24th, win forever.
QuickBooks introduces Rodney and his new business. He teaches lessons to Stanley. And that's kind of it right now. But Rodney knew just what to do. He got QuickBooks. It organizes all his accounts, so he knows where he stands in an instant. Ah, that's a profit, which gave him the idea to spend a little cash on some brilliant marketing. Ha, clever. Wow, look at all these new students. Way to grow, Rodney. Know where you stand instantly. Visit QuickBooks.com.
Do you have a life insurance policy you no longer need or can't afford? Now you can sell your policy for an immediate payment.
We bought life insurance when our kids were young, to protect their future.
Our youngest just turned 40, and we no longer needed the coverage.
That got us to thinking about letting our policy go. So I did some research and called Coventry Direct. I learned that you could sell all or part of a life insurance policy, even a term life policy. Turns out, people have been selling policies like ours for the past 15 years. Who knew? We sold our policy. Now we have money to help with the medical bills.
And to add to our retirement.
If you have $100,000 or more of life insurance, you may be a candidate to sell your policy.
Call 1-800-461-2600 or visit CoventryDirect.com for a free information package. 1-800-461-2600.
Coventry Direct, redefining insurance.
Everything your family touches sticks with them. Make sure the germs they bring home don't stick around. Use Clorox disinfecting products, because no one kills germs better than Clorox.
Sean Spicer, the White House spokesman, said last hour that the stories over the weekend about the new immigration executive order had been, quote, exaggerated and blown way out of proportion. He urged people working in the administration who don't agree with the new rules to either get with the program or they can go, he said. For more, I want to bring in Admiral James Stavridis. He's MSNBC Chief International Security Analyst and Dean of the Fletcher School at Tufts University. Admiral, nice to see you again.
Great seeing you, Kate.
I feel like we're making a habit out of this, which I like. You wrote an op-ed on the immigration order that was published today, and you said that you're a big admirer of the Homeland Security Secretary John Kelly, but then I'm going to quote you. You said, "I am deeply disturbed by the general tone and thrust of the executive orders that, at least on initial read, seem to ban significant classes of people because of their religion or prioritize one religion over another." Are you more concerned about the substance of the order and what it does, or about the way it was handled, or is it both?
I think it's both, Kate. I think, unfortunately, it's bad policy poorly executed. So the bad policy piece of it is that it's sending a terrible signal to our allies around the world. You're seeing it bounce back in the United Kingdom immediately, for example. It encourages our enemies who will use it as a recruiting tool. It denies us legitimate refugees. It's part of our obligation under international law. So I think overall it's poor policy. And in terms of execution, it's been rolled out in a very confused way, and it's unclear whether there was real consultation, for example, with the Secretary of Homeland Security.
Well, I wanted to ask you.
That's not a good start.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I want to ask you about that, though, because you've been in positions of power. You've been in some of these high-level meetings with an administration. Sean Spicer says anybody in there who doesn't agree with this policy can go. They can just get out of the way and leave their position. Do you sense that there are a lot of dissenters within the ranks of the new administration?
I think that anytime a new administration comes in and latches on with a small number of people who've been through a campaign and are now coupled suddenly to this mass of civil servants, there's going to be friction on that boundary layer. And I would suspect that there are certainly some voices being raised. I hope people don't get frustrated, throw up their hands and quit. I hope they push back and try and explain why this is bad policy or how we can execute it better the next time we want to move a new initiative forward. Let's face it, we're in the first week or so of an administration. I give them a certain amount of time and space. But again, this one did not come off, I don't think, the way the administration would have liked.
Let me ask you about the other sort of large issue over the weekend, and that's the senior Trump advisor Steve Bannon getting a seat at the table at the National Security Council meetings and sort of the top-level group in those meetings. Sean Spicer addressed this earlier today. He said some of the reporting's been off, so here's how he explained it.
Well, let's be honest. I mean, David Axelrod walked in and out of NSC meetings quite frequently, by his own account and by several of your accounts. What this shows is that this administration is being rather transparent, that it's putting on the people out in the public who's going to be going in and out of those meetings, not just letting people go in willy-nilly. I think it shows that this administration is trying to make sure that we don't hide things, wait for them to count after the fact. So it recognizes the role that he's going to play. But Steve's not going to be in every meeting. Like Axelrod, he'll come in and out when needed. But I think we wanted to be upfront about it and make sure that was stated so it wasn't a story when he did.
So what do you think of that? Good idea to be transparent? Good idea to have Steve Bannon in the room occasionally?
I think it's a good idea to be transparent, and I do think that every president is entitled to have those around him who give him the advice that he thinks that he needs. Now, this is a formalized body, the National Security Council Staff's Principals Committee. I'm unaware of a previous time when someone has simply been inserted into that as a permanent member. I'm encouraged when I hear that, well, he's really just going to go in and out. We'll see if that's how it really plays out. My concern is that Steve Bannon, and I'm sure he would agree with this, is a political operative. He thinks about things principally in domestic political terms. And the Principals Committee, where I have been part of in briefings and so forth, is really about giving the president the facts and the options. It's not a place where you want to spend a lot of time on the political side of things. So it does raise eyebrows when you do it. Transparency is good. Let's see how it plays out as we go forward.
Admiral James Stavridis, MSNBC Chief International Security and Diplomacy Analyst for us. Nice to see you again. Thanks.
Thanks, Kate.
For another perspective on all this, I want to bring in another MSNBC analyst, a political analyst. Rick Tyler is with us. Rick, nice to see you as well.
Hey, Kate, how are you?
I'm doing well. Let's go back to what I started with Admiral Stavridis, which is the immigration executive order. And as you know, banning travel, at least for now, from 7 Muslim-majority nations, indefinitely banning Syrian refugees from entering the United States. So much reaction all weekend long. I mean, I could barely keep up. I don't know about you. Just, you know, statements and even Republicans coming out and saying, not all, but some, coming out and saying this was a mistake. What's your take on how this all played?
I think rhetorically it's not playing very well at all. Politically it's not playing very well at all. As a policy, I'm actually okay with it. I mean, if you look at the countries on the map there, 3 of them are in civil war. The others don't effectively have no government. So, you know, I hear a lot about, you know, the 9/11 countries weren't included, and that is true, except we have a very good relationship with Saudi Arabia, and Saudi Arabia helps and works with us on defeating terrorism. Iran is a state sponsor of terrorism. There is no one to work with in Yemen. There is no one to work with in Libya, Syria. And so these places, many of them are overrun by either ISIS, Al-Qaeda, or Al-Shabaab, or other terrorist groups. So as a policy, I think if it was explained to people, then it would probably be mostly acceptable.
Does it sound to you like it was not explained to even the people in the government who had to execute the policy?
I think what's very concerning here is 2 things. One is that either the Trump administration doesn't trust its senior cabinet members because they didn't seem to have at least be in the process of the decision making.